2 days ahead of the impeachment ruling on President Yoon the justices at the Constitutional Court are believed to be working on fine-tuning the verdict they will give. With social division running deep over the verdict, the nation's acting president underscores the need to accept the court's ruling in a calm manner and urges politicians not to instigate public unrest. U.S. President Donald Trump is set to announce a new round of tariffs tomorrow. America's trading partners are keeping close tabs, including South Korea. It's April 2nd, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter.
결연한 구국의 의지로 비상계엄을 선포하였습니다.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. The ruling on the president is slated for the day after tomorrow. With much focus at the Constitutional Court, our Oh Soo-young walks us through the formalities that may unfold on that day.
President Yoon's removal or return to power will take effect the moment his fate is stated aloud by the Constitutional Court bench on Friday. Set to be broadcast live at 11 a.m., the nation will be reading the lips of Justice Choi Sang-mok, who as the presiding judge on the case will deliver the decision by the 8-member bench. The ruling will come 111 days after the National Assembly's impeachment vote last December, following the president's martial law order. The bench's deliberation is the longest ever for a presidential case, as the ruling will be delivered 38 days after Yoon's final trial hearing in February.
While sources say the justices have reached an understanding on the verdict and even scheduled a meeting for Wednesday, most likely to discuss procedural matters, the bench is likely to sign off on that decision at the very last minute to maintain utmost confidentiality. In the case of former President Park Geun-hye in 2017, the justices arrived early in the morning of the ruling in order to finalize their decision.
If the same procedure is followed, the lead justice for the case, Choi Sang-mok, will present his opinion first, followed by other justices in reverse order of their appointments to the court. Once they establish a consensus, the bench will conduct a final review of the written judgment, collect signatures and seal the ruling. When entering the courtroom to deliver their decision, the justices will take their seats in the order of seniority, with Acting Chief Justice Moon Young-bae at the centre to declare a start to the proceedings. Typically, if there has been a unanimous decision, the lead justice explains the rationale for the ruling first, followed by the main decision. If there are dissenting or various concurring opinions, the main decision is usually read first, followed by explanations from individual justices representing differing views. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo's impeachment trial was also concluded with the bench first declaring the case dismissed before revealing various opinions. However, as the order of delivery is at the court's discretion, the style of the proceedings could vary. If the court upholds the impeachment, with the consent of at least 6 justices, President Yoon will be removed from office. If the case is dismissed or rejected on procedural grounds by 3 or more members of the bench, he will return to his duties. While previous presidents did not attend their ruling session, President Yoon may choose to show up in the courtroom, as he's done for his hearings throughout the trial. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
As Korea awaits the verdict, Acting President Han Duck-soo has highlighted the importance of peacefully accepting the court's ruling, while urging politicians not to instigate division and disorder. Kim Do-yeon has more.
With the Constitutional Court's landmark decision on President Yoon's impeachment just days away, the government is on high alert, prioritizing citizen safety, as thousands of protesters from both sides are expected to fill the streets. Acting President and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo on Wednesday presided over a meeting with safety-related ministers and Seoul Mayor Oh Se-hoon. and emphasized unity over division while calling on politicians to act responsibly.
I also urge politicians, now is the time to prioritize the stability and survival of our community above political interests. Please demonstrate a responsible stance that promotes social unity rather than division and conflict. In particular, I earnestly ask you to refrain from making remarks that may incite or provoke illegal protests and violence.
Seoul Mayor also laid out the city government's plan to keep safety and order. It's set to deploy 2,400 personnel across the city's mass gathering sites to oversee safety. Public transport will be run according to the situation except for Anguk Station on Line 3, which will be closed on the day of the verdict. Buses are set to take detours while certain key metro stations such as Yeouido and Gwanghwamun will be closely monitored to operate according to the crowd situation.
Honourable citizens, the Seoul Metropolitan Government deeply respects everyone's right to express their opinion. At the same time, we reiterate that safeguarding a safe and peaceful daily life for our citizens is also a precious value that must be protected.
The police and relevant ministries have also laid out their plans. Starting at 9 a.m. on April 3rd, the police agency will be on emergency duty. Starting at midnight on April 4th, 100% of its available officers will be deployed to assigned positions. The Safety Ministry will be in charge of the safety adjustments overall, while the Ministry of Science and ICT will be in charge of stationing additional mobile-based stations so citizens' phone services aren't disrupted due to large gatherings. The government's alertness comes with good reason. Protesters for both sides have been gathering with intensity mounting as polarized views clash in close areas. Most recently, there was an attack at a local court in Seoul where supporters of Yoon raided the building, vandalized it, and used violence against authorities. Back in 2017, after the last presidential impeachment verdict, when President Park Geun-hye's impeachment was upheld, her supporters caused riots charging toward the police. This left 4 people dead. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
An opposition-led impeachment motion against Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok was reported to the National Assembly's plenary session this afternoon. The motion accuses Choi, during his time as acting president, of delaying the appointment of Constitutional Court Justice nominee Ma Eun-hyuk. Ma had been recommended for the court by the opposition Democratic Party. A vote on the impeachment motion must take place between 24 and 72 hours after being reported to the plenary session. The DP plans to decide whether to proceed with the votes based on the ruling in President Yoon's impeachment trial on Friday. The ruling People Power Party criticized the move to impeach Choi, calling it an attack on the country's economy and demanding its immediate withdrawal. International relief agencies are ramping up their efforts to aid Myanmar after a devastating earthquake with time running out. Our PUNG spoke with people who are offering a helping hand as they respond to the latest crisis on the ground.
Homes are destroyed and lives are lost in Myanmar after the country was hit by its largest earthquake in more than a century. The death toll has already exceeded 2,700, despite the efforts of rescuers desperately searching for survivors. International organizations are rushing to help as residents in hardest-hit regions are in urgent need of shelter and essential items such as clean water, food, and hygiene kits. A representative of the UN Refugee Agency in Myanmar, based in Yangon, said the latest earthquake is a crisis on top of a crisis, as the country already had more than 3 million people displaced from the ongoing armed conflict, even before the earthquake.
And this area, particular area of north and central and northwestern part of Myanmar, it was already the home of 1.6 million IDPs, internally displaced people. On the top of that, we do think that almost 50 million people have been affected by this earthquake. and among which 3.8 million, which is quite a devastating number, 3.8 million people are considered to be living in the area that was hardest hit by the earthquake. So the impact, you can imagine, is quite enormous.
The country director for Solidaritas International, a France-based NGO who's also in Yangon, said local responders are starting to get exhausted and that they're running out of resources. He highlighted that the situation is at a turning point, adding that efficient collaboration between local teams and international organizations is crucial in order to gather all available resources.
Mostly, we are going to support local responders when it comes to displacement sites for people that have been evacuating the city of Mandalay because of fear of building continuing to collapse and being affected. We know already that quite a lot of people have now been spending 3 nights out in the streets with no shelter, with no immediate protection. So that's
With hospitals, schools, and public infrastructure now destroyed, there are concerns not only with regard to basic needs, but also healthcare and the educational system. The vice president of the International Rescue Committee said teams have been sent to a town near the epicenter of the earthquake, where 80% of the buildings have been compromised, and explained that the impact of an earthquake can last years.
It's been heartening to see the response that's been mounted so far, but we know this is going to be an effort that's going to take not weeks but months, possibly years, to fully recover from a crisis like this.
As the devastated country struggles to cope with the aftermath of the powerful earthquake, local communities are still awaiting international aid and support. 배은지, 아리랑 뉴스.
In other news, America's trading partners are keeping a close eye on a new round of tariffs by the Trump administration, details of which will be disclosed tomorrow, such as which countries to be included and in what way it'll be imposed. Lee Soo-jin explains.
U.S. President Donald Trump's pending tariffs will go into effect immediately after they are announced, according to a White House spokesperson on Tuesday local time.
My understanding is that the tariff announcement will come tomorrow. They will be effective immediately. He's with his trade and tariff team right now, perfecting it to make sure this is a perfect deal for the American people and the American worker.
The tariffs are set to be announced by Trump at a Rose Garden ceremony at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on April 2nd, which is 5 a.m. on the 3rd here in Korea. He has repeatedly touted April 2nd as Liberation Day, as he believes that his policies will free American industries from what he calls unfair trade practices. And according to U.S. media outlets, including the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, the Trump administration is considering various tariff strategies. One is imposing a 20% flat tariff on all imports. Another is assigning each country a reciprocal tariff number that corresponds to tariffs and other trade barriers on U.S. products. And the U.S. Trade Representative is also considering a third option where levies, likely to be lower than the universal 20%, would be imposed on a wide range of imports from select countries. For South Korea, these tariffs are expected to add further pressure as they come amid a wave of other tariffs, such as the 25% auto tariff set to go into effect on April 2nd and collected the following day. And just last month, the Trump administration imposed sweeping 25% tariffs on aluminum and steel. But despite the country's leadership vacuum, the Korean government is holding various emergency meetings to come up with response measures. Acting President Han Duck-soo on Tuesday, along with the industry, finance, and foreign ministers, met with heads of Korea's top 4 conglomerates, Samsung Electronics, Hyundai Motor, SK, and LG, where Han pledged to continue high-level U.S. outreach and to work with the private sector to respond to the challenges posed by the tariffs. Lee Soo-jin, 아리랑 뉴스.
Inflation at home remained within the 2% range in March for the 3rd month in a row. Park Jun-han covers the latest finding.
South Korea's consumer price data shows steady inflation in the low 2% range over the past 3 months. In March, consumer prices increased by 2.1% compared to March the previous year. The inflation over the past 3 months is slightly higher than September to December last year, when inflation was in the 1% range. The price of cabbages went up by 49.7%, and radishes went up by 86.4%. The price of processed foods rose by 3.6%. That's the biggest jump in 15 months, pushing overall inflation up by 0.3 percentage points. Statistics Korea attributed the increase in processed food prices to three factors: a rise in raw material prices, the high foreign exchange rate, and rising labor and energy costs. Meanwhile, the cost of services also went up, with both public and personal services seeing price rises. The price of public services, which include things like transport and tuition fees, increased by 1.4% year-on-year. The increase was mainly due to the rise in private university tuition. The price of personal services is 3.1% higher than a year ago. The increase was due to increased demand in trips in March. Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok pledged at the ministerial meeting on economic affairs to use the government's full range of capabilities to stabilize perceived inflation.
In April and May, we will allocate an additional 30 billion Korean won to support agricultural product discounts, and we will supply more than 100 tons of cabbages and radishes to the market every day to stabilize supply and demand. We will also lower the price burden of food ingredients through new quota tariffs on raw pork meat and processed egg products.
The Bank of Korea on Wednesday said that the inflation rate is expected to remain stable around the target level of 2%. It also added that there is still a lot of uncertainty around the foreign exchange rate and oil price movements, as well as domestic demand. The central bank said it will keep a keen eye on future inflation levels. 박준환, 아리랑 뉴스.
The number of foreign nationals who visited South Korea last year for medical procedures was nearly double compared to the year before. According to the Health Ministry on Wednesday, the number reached around 1.2 million, the highest since the country's medical tourism program began in 2009. Since then, the total has exceeded 5 million. By nationality, Japan topped the list, accounting for over 37%, followed by China and the US. And over half came over to have dermatology treatment. South Korea has from today implemented its new top-tier visa system to attract high-quality foreign talent in cutting-edge industries. This visa program is designed to qualify top-level engineers who will oversee projects and spearhead technological advancements in sectors such as semiconductors, biotechnology, and secondary batteries. Eligibility requires foreigners to have a master's degree or PhD from a top 100 global graduate school. Also, applicants must have professional experience in global institutions and an annual salary that exceeds 3 times the GNI per capita. Korea is ushering in the sights and sounds of spring. That being said, our Lee Eun-hee sheds light on a flower festival to celebrate this particular season.
The Bucheon Azalea Festival is blooming. The vibrant pink azaleas have people soaking up the spring vibes. Bucheon City, not too far from Seoul, is hosting this beautiful festival at Bucheon Stadium and Wonmisan Mountain or Wonmisan Azalea Hill. The trails around Wonmisan Azalea Hill offer a great opportunity to enjoy both the stunning azalea blossoms and the natural beauty of the landscape while hiking. It's a perfect way to soak in the scenery and get some fresh air.
I visit every year. Taking in the scenery brings me a sense of peace. Now, at 72, I find myself reflecting on the beauty of life and the passing of time.
It was my first time to come and to see these beautiful flowers, and I came to see the azalea blossom, and then I roamed around and saw lots of beautiful flowers, and then I found out the market which was nearby, and there I enjoyed the food and all these. It was crowded, but if you want to have beautiful aesthetic photos for your Instagram or social media, I recommend you to visit here. Yeah.
A key goal of the festival is to boost the local economy by hosting a variety of events and activities, such as making custom azalea-themed bags.
The Azalea Festival is timed to coincide with the spring bloom, transforming open spaces at Bucheon Stadium into interactive attractions. To promote cultural tourism and support the local economy, the festival features a flea market with local artists, small business product sales, and a variety of food trucks.
Many other spring blossom festivals across South Korea are still running. Other major festivals include the Daegu E-World Blossom Picnic, Taean Tulip Festival, Jinhae Gunangje Festival, and Gokseong World Rose Festival. The Bucheon Azalea Festival will run until April 6th. However, music performances have been cancelled as a mark of respect for those affected by the recent tragic wildfires in Gyeongsangbuk-do province. Spring is here, but so are heartbreaking losses. 이은희, 아리랑 뉴스.
BTS J-Hope has entered the Billboard Hot 100 chart for a 7th time, tying with his bandmate Jungkook for the most entries by a K-pop soloist. According to Billboard's latest chart released on April 1st local time, J-Hope's single Mona Lisa debuted at number 65 on the Hot 100. This marks his 3rd charting song just this year, following I'll Be Back and Sweet Dreams.
Rain clouds from the West Sea have been gradually covering large parts of the country. Rain started in the Seoul metropolitan area and the west coast of Chungcheongnam-do province during the day today and spread to the central parts in the late afternoon. With only 5 to 10 millimeters of rain, most of it will stop tonight. This spring rain is not enough to clear the stuffy air. Seoul, Incheon, southern parts of Gyeonggi-do province, Chungcheongnam-do province, and Jeollabuk-do province will have bad levels of ultrafine dust tomorrow. Tomorrow morning will start mild with Seoul, Gwangju, and Daegu at 6 degrees Celsius and Daejeon at 5 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 14 to 17 degrees all over the country. There's more rain forecast across the country on Saturday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.